The rain hammered against my apartment window like it was personally offended by my existence. I stared at my reflection in the glass, barely visible between the streaks of water, and raised my beer in a mock toast. "Here's to Daniel Hayes," I muttered to myself, 28 years old, data entry specialist extraordinaire, and winner of this month's Most Forgettable Human Being Award. The apartment around me seemed to agree with the assessment. Everything about it screamed mediocrity, from the second-hand furniture I'd never bothered to arrange properly to the stack of unpaid bills threatening to avalanche off my kitchen counter. Even the mold in the corner of the ceiling had given up trying to spread, as if it too had lost interest in my life. My phone buzzed, another text from Marcus, my only friend who still bothered to check if I was alive. "Bar tonight, the usual place." I typed back a half-hearted yes and grabbed my jacket. At least drowning my sorrows in public would be a change of scenery from drowning them alone. The drive to Murphy's took me through the worst part of Brooklyn, the kind of neighborhood where streetlights went to die and hope was something you scraped off your shoe, perfect for my mood. The bar itself was a monument to giving up, with its cracked leather seats and a jukebox that only played songs from better times. Marcus was already there, hunched over his laptop like always, fingers dancing across the keyboard with the kind of purpose I envied. "You look like death warmed over," he said without looking up. Charming as always. I slid into the booth across from him. "What are you hacking tonight, Pentagon, NSA, your ex-girlfriend's Instagram?" Funny. He finally glanced up, and I saw concern flicker across his face. "Seriously, though, you okay? You've been radio silent for a week." "Just living the dream, Marcus. Wake up, enter meaningless data, go home, repeat until death. You need to get out more, meet people, maybe even, and I know this is crazy, talk to a woman who isn't a bartender." I was about to respond with something appropriately self-deprecating when the door burst open. Not opened, burst. The kind of entrance that made everyone in the bar turn and stare. She stumbled in, and my first thought was that someone had started the Halloween party 8 months early. Her clothes looked like they'd been designed by someone who'd only heard descriptions of Earth fashion secondhand. The fabric shimmered in ways that hurt to look at directly, and there were tears in it that revealed skin that seemed to glow faintly blue in the dim bar light. But it was her eyes that made me forget to breathe. They were wrong, beautiful, but wrong, too large, with irises that shifted color like oil on water. And when they locked onto mine, I felt something electric shoot down my spine. "Help me," she gasped, and then she collapsed. The bar erupted in confusion. People pulled out phones. Someone shouted about calling an ambulance, but I was already moving. I don't know why. Maybe it was the way she'd looked at me, like I was the only person in the room who could save her. Me, Daniel Hayes, professional nobody. I caught her before she hit the floor. Up close, I could see the wounds, 3 parallel gashes across her ribs that leaked something that wasn't quite blood. It glowed softly, like liquid starlight. "We need to get her to a hospital," someone said. "No," she whispered, her hand gripping my arm with surprising strength. "No hospitals. They'll find me." "Who will find you?" I asked. But she was already pulling me down, her lips close to my ear. "The Dominion comes," she breathed. Earth is already lost. But you might be." Her words cut off as the bar's windows exploded inward. Through the shower of glass came things that my brain refused to process properly. Tall, angular, moving with a fluid grace that made them seem like they were underwater even in open air. Their faces were hidden behind masks that reflected everything and nothing. The bar descended into chaos. People screamed, ran, trampled each other in their desperation to escape. Marcus was shouting my name, but I couldn't move. The woman in my arms was dying. I could feel it, and those things were coming straight for us. "Take this." She pressed something into my hand, a small crystal that pulsed with warm light, And remember that humans are more than they know. Before I could ask what she meant, she pulled my face down to hers and kissed me. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't gentle, it was desperate and fierce and felt like lightning being poured directly into my skull. Images flooded my mind too fast to comprehend. Stars being born and dying, vast ships that dwarfed planets, a civilization that spanned galaxies, and through it all, a sense of something sleeping inside me, something vast and terrible and beautiful, suddenly stirring awake. The kiss broke and she smiled, a sad, knowing expression. "Your kind calls me Arya," she said. "Remember that name. Remember that I'm sorry." Then the things were on us. One of them raised what might have been a weapon, might have been an arm, and I did the only thing I could think of. I stood up, putting myself between Arya and them, and screamed, "Leave her alone." The words came out wrong. They came out with force, with power, with something that made the air itself ripple. The nearest creature flew backward like it had been hit by a truck, crashing through what was left of the bar's wall. Everyone stopped. The creatures, the fleeing patrons, even Marcus with his laptop clutched to his chest. They all stared at me. I looked down at my hands. They were glowing, not like Arya's blue shimmer, but with a warm golden light that pulsed in time with my heartbeat. "What the hell did you do to me?" I asked Arya, but she was unconscious, her breathing shallow. The remaining creatures regrouped, their masks turning toward me with what I could only interpret as interest. One of them spoke, its voice like grinding metal. "Impossible. The specimen was destroyed. All Earthborn resonants were terminated in the previous cycle." Resonance specimen. I wanted to ask what they were talking about, but my body had other ideas. The golden light was spreading, crawling up my arms like living tattoos. It didn't hurt. It felt right, like putting on clothes that had been tailored specifically for me. "Capture them both," the lead creature commanded. "The Dominion will want to study this anomaly." They moved forward, and I acted on instinct. I pushed, not with my hands, but with my mind, and a wave of golden energy erupted from me. It wasn't controlled, wasn't focused. It was raw panic given form, and it tore through the bar like a miniature hurricane. When the dust settled, the creatures were gone. So was most of the bar's interior. Marcus was pressed against the far wall, eyes wide with shock. The other patrons had fled, and Arya was breathing easier, the wounds on her side closing slowly, fed by the golden energy that still leaked from my hands. "Daniel," Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you—" "I don't know," I admitted, watching the light fade from my skin. "I really don't know." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer, but before they arrived, the world outside the bar shifted. A shimmer ran across the sky, like reality itself was being edited, and suddenly the destroyed bar looked whole again. The fleeing people stopped mid-run, confused, looking around as if they'd forgotten why they were running. Only Marcus, Arya, and I seemed unaffected. "Memory wipe," Arya said weakly, her eyes fluttering open. "Standard Dominion procedure, make the humans forget, maintain the facade." Facade. I helped her sit up, noting that her wounds had completely healed. "What facade?" "The one that says Earth is free," she replied. "The one that says humanity is alone in the universe. The one that hides the fact that your world has been a Dominion experiment for the last 60 years. My mind reeled. "That's insane." "Is it?" She gestured to my hands, which were still faintly glowing. "You just threw 3 Dominion enforcers through a wall with your mind. You're healing me with energy that shouldn't exist in a human body. Tell me, Daniel Hayes, what's really insane here?" She had a point. "We need to move," Marcus said, laptop already out and fingers flying across the keyboard. "Whatever that memory thing was, it didn't affect the security cameras I've been monitoring. There are more of those things converging on this location. How many more? Arya asked. All of them, from the looks of it. Marcus turned his screen toward us. The display showed dozens of the angular creatures moving through the streets, all heading our way. Whatever you are, Daniel, you just painted the world's biggest target on your back. I helped Arya to her feet. She was steadier now, but still leaned against me for support. The contact sent little sparks of that golden energy between us, and I saw her eyes widen slightly. It's spreading, she murmured. The resonance is taking hold faster than it should. That's not possible unless... Unless what? She looked at me with something between awe and fear. Unless you were already changed. Unless you were one of the original subjects. Before I could process that, Marcus grabbed both of us and pulled us toward the bar's back exit. Philosophical discussions later, running for our lives now. We burst out into the alley behind Murphy's. The rain had stopped, but the air felt charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. I could feel them coming. The Dominion enforcers, like pressure against my skin. My car's around the corner, I said. No good, Marcus replied, showing us his laptop screen again. They've got the whole block surrounded. We're trapped. Arya straightened, pulling away from my support. Not all of us. She turned to me, her impossible eyes serious. Daniel, I need you to listen very carefully. What's happening to you? It's not random. The resonance doesn't just appear, it has to be cultivated, nurtured, or... She paused. Or engineered. What are you saying? I'm saying that someone made you this way, long before tonight, long before that kiss. I just activated what was already there. She pulled out a device that looked like a phone crossbred with a piece of modern art. I'm sending you coordinates. Go there, find the truth about what you are. What about you? She smiled, that same sad expression from before. I'll buy you time. It's why I came to Earth in the first place. To find you, or someone like you, someone who could stand against them. That's suicide, Marcus protested. That's hope, Arya corrected. She turned back to me. The kiss, Daniel, it didn't just activate your power, it gave you my memories, my knowledge. It's all in there, locked away. You just have to learn to access it. The pressure was building. The enforcers were close, maybe seconds away. Go, Arya commanded, and her own energy flared to life, blue and brilliant. Remember what I said. Humans are more than they know. You're more than you know. She turned and walked back into the bar, through the doorway. I could see the enforcers entering from the front. She met them head on, her blue energy clashing with their angular weapons in a display that looked like fireworks made of lightning. Marcus dragged me away. She's giving us a chance. Don't waste it. We ran through the twisting alleys of Brooklyn, my enhanced senses picking up pursuit that never quite caught us. Every time they got close, something would happen. A dumpster would inexplicably roll into their path. A fire escape would collapse at just the right moment. It took me 3 blocks to realize I was doing it, unconsciously pushing reality in small ways to keep us safe. We finally stopped in a parking garage 6 blocks away, both gasping for breath. Marcus immediately opened his laptop, fingers flying as he worked to cover our digital tracks. This is insane, he muttered. This is completely insane. My best friend just turned into some kind of superhero. Aliens are real, and apparently Earth is some kind of prison or experiment or... Marcus, I interrupted, I'm scared. He looked up from his screen, and for a moment, the sarcastic hacker facade dropped. Yeah, me too, man. But you know what? You just stood up to alien enforcer things to protect someone you'd never met. That's the most Daniel Hayes thing I've ever seen you do. What do you mean? You always thought you were nobody special, just another face in the crowd. But even when you were at your lowest, you always helped people. Remember when you gave your last $20 to that homeless vet last month? even though it meant you'd be eating ramen for a week, or when you stayed up all night helping me debug code, even though you had work the next morning. He closed his laptop. Maybe that's what Arya meant. Maybe being human, being special, isn't about having powers. Maybe it's about what you do when you think no one's watching. I wanted to respond, but my phone buzzed. The screen showed coordinates and a single message. The answer to who you are lies in who you were. A. She's still alive, I breathed. For now, Marcus said grimly, but those things, the Dominion, they're not going to stop. You heard them. You're an anomaly. Something that shouldn't exist. I thought about Arya's words, about the memories locked in my head, about the golden light that had felt so natural, so right. Then maybe it's time to find out why I do exist. I looked at the coordinates. They pointed to a location in upstate New York, an abandoned government facility according to Marcus's quick search. This is probably a trap, he pointed out. Probably. We're going anyway, aren't we? We, Marcus grinned, the familiar cockiness returning. You think I'm letting you have all the fun. Besides, someone needs to keep you from doing something stupidly heroic. As we headed for his car, I caught my reflection in a window. Same face, same forgettable features, but something was different. There was a light in my eyes that hadn't been there before, a purpose that went beyond just existing day to day. I thought about what Arya had said, about humans being more than they know. 24 hours ago, I would have laughed at the idea. I was just Daniel Hayes. Nobody special, another face in the crowd of 8 billion. But maybe that was the point. Maybe being nobody special was exactly what made us all special. We weren't chosen ones or destined heroes. We were just people, trying to do right in a universe that apparently had much bigger plans for us. The golden light flickered under my skin as we drove out of the city, heading toward answers I wasn't sure I wanted to find. Behind us, the Dominion was hunting. Ahead, the truth about what I was waited in an abandoned facility. And somewhere in between, Arya was fighting alone, buying us time with her life. I made a silent promise as the city lights faded behind us. I would find out what I was. I would master this power, and I would make sure her sacrifice meant something. Because I might have been just a random guy from Earth, but that kiss had unlocked something inside me. Something the Dominion feared, something humanity had forgotten it possessed. The nobody from Earth was about to become somebody, whether the universe was ready for it or not. The abandoned facility looked like something out of a horror movie, which, considering my night so far, felt oddly appropriate. Broken windows stared down at us like dead eyes, and vines had claimed most of the exterior walls, as if nature itself was trying to hide what had happened here. Blackwood Research Institute. Marcus read from his laptop, the screen's glow making his face look ghostly in the pre-dawn darkness. Officially closed in 1998 due to budget constraints. Unofficially, well, there's nothing. It's like this place was scrubbed from existence. I stepped out of the car and immediately felt it, a pull, like invisible hands tugging at something deep in my chest. The golden energy under my skin responded, warming slightly. You feel that? I asked. Feel what? Marcus grabbed his backpack, stuffed with every piece of tech he could grab from his apartment during our brief stop. The overwhelming sense that we're about to die horribly. No, it's... I struggled to find words. It's like the building is calling to me. That's not creepy at all. We approached the main entrance, or what was left of it. The doors had been ripped off their hinges long ago, leaving a gaping maw that seemed to swallow light. I raised my hand, willing the golden energy to surface, and was rewarded with a soft glow that pushed back the darkness. Handy, Marcus commented. You're like a walking flashlight now. Among other things, I muttered, remembering how I'd thrown those enforcers through a wall. The interior was worse than the outside. Equipment lay scattered and broken, as if a tornado had torn through the place. Papers littered the floor, most too damaged by time and weather to read, but it was the walls that made us both stop. Scorch marks, hundreds of them, and they weren't random. They formed patterns, almost like someone had been painting with fire. "Daniel," Marcus's voice was tight, "look at this." He was standing by a partially intact bulletin board. Among the molded papers and faded photos was one image that made my blood run cold. It was me, younger, maybe 4 or 5 years old, standing in what looked like this very building. But that wasn't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was that I was glowing in the photo, the same golden light that now lived under my skin. "That's impossible," I breathed. "I grew up in Jersey. I've never been here." "Are you sure?" Marcus asked gently. "How much do you actually remember from before you were 6? I started to answer, then stopped. He was right. My earliest clear memory was starting 1st grade. Everything before that was vague, dreamlike. I'd always assumed that was normal, that everyone's early childhood was a blur. A crash echoed from deeper in the building. We both froze. "Wind," Marcus suggested hopefully. Another crash, closer this time, definitely not wind. "We should leave," Marcus said. "No." The word came out more forcefully than I intended. "I need answers." We pressed deeper into the facility. Following the pull I felt, it led us down a flight of stairs to what must have been the basement level. Here, the damage was less severe, as if whatever had happened upstairs hadn't quite reached this far. We found the first intact room behind a door marked "Observation." Inside were banks of monitors, all dead, and filing cabinets that had been forced open and emptied. But one cabinet in the corner remained locked. "Allow me," Marcus said, pulling out his lock-picking tools. 3 minutes later, the cabinet was open, revealing a single manila folder. "Project Prometheus." I read from the cover. Inside were documents, photos, and what looked like medical charts, all featuring children, all showing varying degrees of that same golden glow. "Jesus," Marcus whispered, "there were dozens of you." I flipped through the pages, my hands starting to shake. Names, ages, abilities recorded in clinical detail. Sarah Martinez, age 6, could manipulate electromagnetic fields. Thomas Wright, age 8, demonstrated precognitive abilities. And then, there it was. Daniel Hayes, age 5, subject shows unprecedented resonant potential. Recommend immediate extraction for Phase 2. "Extraction," I said. "What's Phase 2? Before Marcus could answer, the lights flickered on. Every monitor in the room blazed to life, all showing the same image, a symbol I recognized from Arya's memories. The mark of the Dominion. "Welcome home, Daniel." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, feminine, synthetic, oddly familiar. "Who are you?" I demanded. "I am Lyra. I was the AI assigned to monitor Project Prometheus. I've been waiting for you to return." Marcus was already typing furiously. "There's no way this system should have power. The building's been abandoned for over 20 years. 26 years, 3 months, and 14 days, to be precise." Lyra corrected. "I've been running on backup power, conserving energy, waiting." "Waiting for what?" The monitors flickered, showing security footage from long ago. Children in a classroom, learning things that definitely weren't part of any normal curriculum. Energy manipulation, telepathy, telekinesis. "Waiting for one of you to come back," Lyra said, "to finish what was started." I watched myself on the screen, 5 years old, and laughing as I made toys float around the room with golden light. What happened here? Where are the others? The footage changed. Chaos. Enforcers storming the facility. Scientists running, screaming. And children, dozens of children, fighting back with powers they barely understood. "The Dominion discovered the project," Lyra explained. "They came to terminate it. The children were supposed to be humanity's defense against them, but someone betrayed us, told them where to find us. On screen, I watched a younger version of myself being carried out by a woman I didn't recognize. She was running, dodging energy blasts, protecting me with her body. Who was she? I asked, though somehow I already knew. Dr. Elena Hayes. Your mother. She was lead researcher on the project. Lyra paused, and when she spoke again, there was something almost like emotion in her synthetic voice. She died getting you out, died making sure you'd forget, that you'd be hidden, normal, safe. The room spun. My mother, who I'd been told died in a car accident when I was 5, had actually been some kind of scientist working on a secret program to create superpowered children, and she'd died saving me from aliens. This is insane, I said, collapsing into a chair. Daniel, Marcus said quietly, look at this. He'd found another file, this one marked with Dominion symbols. It was a report, translated into English. Earth Experiment 64 Alpha. Subject planet shows unusual potential for resonant development. Recommend continued observation and periodic culling to prevent emergence of Class 9 or higher resonance. They've been farming us, Marcus said, disgust clear in his voice. Letting humans develop powers, then killing anyone who gets too strong. Until now, Lyra interjected, until you, Daniel, you're exhibiting Class 10 resonance, possibly higher. That shouldn't be possible for a human. What makes me different? The monitors changed again, showing a DNA sequence. Your mother's final experiment. She modified your genetic structure, not to give you powers, but to let you fully integrate with them. Other resonants burn out, their human bodies unable to handle the energy long term. But you're designed to grow stronger over time. A new crash echoed through the building, much closer now. The monitors flickered, showing security feeds from upstairs. Dominion enforcers, dozens of them, sweeping through the facility. They followed you, Lyra observed. I calculate a 92% probability that you'll be captured in the next 6 minutes. Helpful, Marcus muttered, already packing up his laptop. Any suggestions on that other 8%? Yes, Lyra said. Let me out. Out, I asked. I've been trapped in this system for over 2 decades. But your friend there has a portable system that could house my consciousness temporarily. Free me, and I'll help you escape. Marcus and I exchanged glances. Trusting an AI we'd just met seemed risky, but we were running out of options. Do it, I decided. Marcus's fingers flew across his keyboard, establishing a connection. This is either brilliant or the stupidest thing we've ever done. Given our night so far, possibly both, I replied. The download took 30 seconds. 30 seconds of listening to the enforcers get closer, of feeling my golden energy build in response to the threat. When it finished, Marcus's laptop screen went black for a moment, then displayed a simple smiley face. Hello, boys, Lyra said through the laptop speakers. Now, if you'd like to live, follow my instructions exactly. She guided us through a maze of service corridors I never would have found on my own. But we weren't moving toward an exit. We were going deeper. Where are you taking us? I demanded. To the one thing that might give you a fighting chance, Lyra replied. The prototype. We emerged in a vast underground chamber, easily 3 stories tall. In the center sat something that looked like a fusion between a meditation chamber and a particle accelerator. The resonance amplifier, Lyra announced, your mother's masterpiece. It was designed to fully activate a resonance potential. It was never tested. The Dominion attacked before we could use it. You want me to get in an untested machine that messes with my DNA? I asked. No. I want you to get in an untested machine that completes what your mother started. The genetic modifications she gave you are only half the equation. This is the other half. The sound of enforcers reached the chamber entrance. We were out of time. Daniel, don't. Marcus grabbed my arm. This is crazy. Everything about tonight has been crazy, I pointed out. At least this crazy might help me fight back. I stepped toward the machine and it responded. Panels sliding open to reveal a chamber just large enough for one person. The golden energy under my skin pulled me forward like it recognized something kindred. If this kills me, I said to Marcus, delete my browser history. If this kills you, I'm going to bring you back just to kill you again myself. I stepped into the chamber, the panels closed, and for a moment there was nothing but darkness and the sound of my own heartbeat. Then Lyra's voice, somehow inside my head. This will hurt, she warned. That was an understatement. Energy poured into me, not golden, but every color at once, like someone had liquefied a rainbow and injected it directly into my veins. I could feel it rewriting me at a cellular level, completing patterns that had been dormant for over 20 years. And with the energy came knowledge, not Arya's memories this time, but something deeper, the understanding of what resonance actually was. It wasn't magic or some exotic energy. It was the universe's own frequency, the vibration that held reality together. And humans, unique among all the species the Dominion had encountered, could naturally harmonize with it. We weren't just compatible with resonance, we were meant for it. The chamber opened, and I stepped out, changed. The golden light wasn't just under my skin now, it was part of me, flowing through me like blood. I could feel everything, the electrical patterns in the walls, the heartbeats of the enforcers above us, the fear and determination radiating from Marcus. How do you feel? He asked. Like I could arm wrestle God and win, I admitted. Then, more seriously, like I finally understand what Arya meant. Humans are special not because of what we can do, but because of what we choose to do. The enforcers burst into the chamber, weapons raised. There were at least 20 of them, led by one whose mask was more elaborate than the others. Daniel Hayes, it spoke, that same grinding metal voice. By order of the High Dominion, you will submit to termination. Counteroffer, I said, raising my hand. You leave Earth alone, and I don't turn you all into modern art. Arrogant child, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Actually, I smiled, feeling the resonance sing through me. I finally do. I didn't attack them. Instead, I reached out with my new awareness and touched their weapons, not physically, but at a fundamental level, convincing the energy cores that they really wanted to be somewhere else, like, say, dispersed harmlessly into the air. 20 weapons simultaneously dissolved into sparkles of light. That's new, Marcus commented. The lead enforcer took a step back. Impossible. No human can manipulate Dominion technology. Yeah, about that, I said, walking forward. The golden energy around me intensified, not threatening but undeniable. I've been thinking. You've been studying Earth for 60 years, experimenting on us, killing anyone who gets too powerful. Why? The enforcer didn't answer, but I could feel its fear now. Real, genuine fear. It's because you know, isn't it? I continued. You know that if humanity ever fully awakened to what we could do, your empire would fall. We're not your subjects. We're your worst nightmare. The Dominion has ruled for millennia, the enforcer spat. One enhanced human changes nothing. Maybe not, I agreed, but I'm not planning to stay just one. I reached out again, this time touching the enforcers' masks. They were technology, yes, but also prisons, limiting what the beings inside could perceive. With a thought, I freed them. The masks fell away, revealing faces that weren't so different from human. They had features that were recognizable as expressions of shock, confusion, and for the first time wonder as they saw the world without the Dominion's filters. You're slaves too, I realized. The Dominion doesn't rule you. It uses you. One of the enforcers, younger looking than the others, stared at its hands as if seeing them for the first time. The colors, it whispered. I can see colors. The lead enforcer, however, wasn't convinced. Tricks and deception. The Dominion is eternal. The Dominion is... The Dominion is afraid. Arya's voice cut through the chamber. She stood in the entrance, wounded but alive, her blue energy flickering weakly around her. They're afraid because Daniel is proof that their greatest lie is crumbling. What lie? I asked. That resonance is rare, that only a few species can use it. She limped forward, and I moved to support her. The truth is, every sentient being can resonate. The Dominion just convinces them they can't. But humans never got that memo. You believe you can do impossible things, so you do them. The lead enforcer raised its hand, energy gathering despite the lack of a weapon. Enough. You will all be. Stop. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. I just pushed my will into the word, and reality listened. The enforcer froze mid-threat, the energy dissipating. Here's what's going to happen, I said, addressing all of them. You're going to go back to the Dominion. You're going to tell them that Earth is off limits. And you're going to spread the word that humans aren't their playthings anymore. They'll never agree to that, the lead enforcer managed to say through whatever hold I had on it. Then I'll have to convince them personally, I replied. But for now, you're leaving? I released my hold, and to my surprise, they actually began to retreat. The younger ones looked almost grateful. Only the leader maintained its hostility. This isn't over, Daniel Hayes. The Dominion has ways of dealing with anomalies like you. Looking forward to it, I said cheerfully. Oh, and tell your High Lord something for me. Tell him Daniel Hayes, nobody from Earth, sends his regards. They left, and I finally allowed myself to collapse. The power was still there, but using it had taken more out of me than I'd expected. That was incredibly stupid, Arya said, but she was smiling. Also incredibly brave. It's kind of his thing, Marcus added, helping us both sit. So what now? We've got an AI in my laptop. Daniel's basically Superman. And apparently we just declared war on an intergalactic empire. Now, Lyra's voice came from the laptop. We prepare because that enforcer was right about one thing. This isn't over, it's just beginning. I looked at my friends, old and new, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Purpose, for so long. I'd been drifting through life, convinced I was nobody special. But maybe that was exactly what made me special. I knew what it was like to be powerless, to be overlooked, to be forgotten. And now that I had power, I knew exactly what to do with it. Protect the powerless. Stand up to bullies, even if they ruled galaxies. Be the nobody who became somebody, not for glory or fame, but because it was the right thing to do. All right, I said, standing up with new determination. Let's go save the world. Which one? Marcus asked. I grinned, feeling the resonance hum through me, connecting me to not just Earth, but to something vast and beautiful beyond it. All of them, eventually, but let's start with ours. As we left the facility, supporting each other, I caught a glimpse of our reflection in a broken window. 3 humans and an AI against an empire that had ruled for thousands of years. It should have been hopeless. But humanity had always been good at impossible things. And we were just getting started. The safe house Marcus had arranged was a shipping container converted into a high-tech hideout on the Newark docks. It wasn't much, but it had power, internet, and most importantly, it was off the grid. We'd been there 3 days, and I was starting to feel like a caged animal. You're literally wearing a groove in the floor, Marcus observed from behind his wall of monitors. Either sit down or go outside and blow up some abandoned buildings. This pacing is driving me crazy. I can't just sit here, I said, the golden energy rippling under my skin in response to my agitation. Every minute we wait, the Dominion is planning something. And every minute we wait, you're getting stronger, Arya reminded me from where she meditated in the corner. Her blue energy had fully recovered, creating a soft aurora around her. Your power is still stabilizing. If you face them now, I know, I could burn out. I flopped onto a makeshift couch that had definitely seen better decades. It's just, I spent 28 years doing nothing with my life. Now I can actually make a difference, and you want me to wait? Patience, Daniel. Lyra's voice came from speakers Marcus had installed throughout the container. Your mother spent years planning. We can spare a few days. Before I could respond, every screen in the place went dark. Then, slowly, a single symbol appeared on each one, the Dominion's mark. That's not possible, Marcus said, fingers flying across his keyboard. We're completely isolated. There's no way they could... Hello, Daniel Hayes. The voice that came through the speakers wasn't Lyra's. It was deep, cultured, and somehow managed to sound both amused and threatening. Who are you? I demanded, standing up as my power flared instinctively. I am Lord Careth of the High Dominion. I believe you've met my enforcers. Arya went pale. Careth, he's not just Dominion. He's one of the five, their highest council. I'm honored, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. To what do I owe the pleasure? Curiosity, mostly, Careth replied. It's been centuries since a human has been interesting enough to warrant my personal attention. Your little display at the research facility was impressive. If you're calling to threaten us... No, dear boy. I'm calling to invite you to dinner. That stopped me cold. Excuse me. You've caused quite a stir in the Dominion hierarchy. Some want you dead immediately. Others think you could be useful. I prefer to make such judgments in person. So, dinner, tonight. The coordinates are being sent to your friend's computer now. This is obviously a trap, Marcus said. Of course it is, Careth agreed pleasantly, but it's a very civilized trap. You'll come alone, we'll have a lovely meal, discuss the future of your species, and then I'll decide whether humanity lives or dies. Refuse, and I'll have New York glassed from orbit within the hour. The connection cut, leaving us in stunned silence. He's bluffing, Marcus said finally. They wouldn't destroy a major city just to get to you. Yes, they would, Arya said quietly. Careth once sterilized an entire planet because their ambassador spoke out of turn. He's not bluffing. I looked at the coordinates on Marcus's screen. They pointed to a location in international waters, about 50 miles off the coast. I have to go, I said. Daniel, no. Arya grabbed my arm. Careth isn't just powerful. He's ancient, cunning. He's orchestrated the fall of hundreds of civilizations. And if I don't go, he'll orchestrate the fall of New York. I gently removed her hand. Besides, maybe it's time someone reminded the Dominion that humans don't make good slaves. At least let us come as backup, Marcus suggested. No, he said alone, and I'm not risking you guys. I turned to Lyra's main camera, but I could use your help with something. What do you need? The AI asked. Everything you have on Careth. History, psychology, weaknesses. If I'm walking into the lion's den, I want to know exactly what kind of lion I'm dealing with. The next 2 hours were a crash course in alien politics and psychology. Careth was over 3,000 years old, had personally overseen the subjugation of 43 species, and had a particular interest in what he called evolutionary anomalies. He collected them, studied them, and when he was done, he eliminated them. You're not just going to dinner, Lyra concluded. You're auditioning to be his next specimen. Comforting, I muttered, adjusting the one decent suit Marcus had somehow procured for me. Any advice on how not to become part of his collection? Don't be interesting, Arya said, but it's too late for that. As the sun set, I stood on the dock, waiting. Right on time, the water in front of me began to bubble and churn. A ship rose from the depths, but calling it a ship was like calling the Mona Lisa a doodle. It was art given form, all flowing curves and impossible angles that hurt to look at directly. A ramp extended to the dock, and I walked aboard, trying not to look as terrified as I felt. The interior was equally disorienting. Corridors that seemed to go on forever, rooms that were bigger on the inside than the outside, and everywhere that subtle wrongness that marked Dominion technology. I was guided by lights in the floor, leading me deeper into the ship until I reached a dining room that belonged in a palace, not a vessel. Lord Kareth stood with his back to me, looking out a window that showed the ocean floor despite us being above water. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, and moved with a grace that made me think of a praying mantis pretending to be human. "Daniel Hayes," he said without turning, "the nobody who thinks he's somebody." "Lord Kareth," I replied, "the somebody who's afraid of nobodies." He turned then, and I got my first look at his face. It was almost human, but stretched in subtle ways, with eyes that held the weight of millennia. When he smiled, it was with too many teeth. "Afraid, my dear boy, I haven't felt fear in over 1,000 years. He gestured to a table that looked more like an art installation. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." The food appeared without servers, simply manifesting on the table. Some of it I recognized, some of it I didn't, and some of it seemed to exist in more dimensions than I was comfortable with. "Tell me," Kareth said, cutting into something that might have been meat, "what do you know about the history of your species? The real history, or the one in textbooks?" "Oh, I like you already. The real one, of course." I took a breath, remembering everything Lyra had told me. "I know we were discovered by the Dominion about 60 years ago. I know you've been experimenting on us, studying our connection to resonance." "Discovered," Kareth mused. "Such an interesting choice of words. We didn't discover humanity, Daniel. We created you." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "Oh, yes. Humanity is perhaps our greatest success and our most terrible failure." He took a sip of something that glowed purple. "Would you like to know the truth? The real truth?" "Yes." 200,000 years ago, the Dominion found a dead world, Earth. It had life, certainly, but nothing approaching sentience. We decided to use it as a laboratory, a testing ground for creating the perfect servitor species. He smiled at my expression. "We accelerated evolution, guided it, shaped it. We made you intelligent, adaptable, creative, everything we wanted in a slave race. But something went wrong," I guessed, my food untouched. "Something went magnificently wrong," he agreed. "You developed something we hadn't anticipated. Not just consciousness, but conscience. Not just intelligence, but imagination. And most troubling of all, you developed an innate connection to resonance that surpassed even our own. So you abandoned the project." "We tried to destroy it," Kareth corrected. "The order was given to sterilize Earth, but the team sent to carry it out disappeared. When we sent investigators, they found humanity had somehow survived and had no memory of our involvement. It was as if reality itself had been rewritten to protect you." My mind raced. Someone helped us, someone with incredible power. Or, Kareth leaned forward, humanity helped itself. That's what terrifies the Dominion. Daniel, the possibility that at some point in your prehistory, humanity collectively resonated and changed reality to ensure its survival. That's impossible. Is it you've rewritten the fundamental forces of matter with your will alone? Is it so hard to believe your entire species once did the same? He stood, walking to the window. "We've been watching ever since, carefully pruning any humans who showed too much potential. Until you. What makes me different? Your mother, Kareth said simply. Dr. Elena Hayes was brilliant. She understood what humanity could become if it ever reached its full potential. So she created you, a bridge between what humans are and what they could be. And you killed her for it. I ordered her death. Yes, he said without a trace of remorse. Just as I ordered the termination of all the Prometheus children, but she was clever, your mother. She hid you so well that even I couldn't find you. Until now. The room's atmosphere changed, became heavier. I could feel energy building, not hostile exactly, but ready. So what now? I asked. You kill me like you killed her? Perhaps. Or perhaps I make you an offer. He turned back to me, and his eyes were glowing with an inner light. Join the Dominion. Become my protege. I can teach you to use your power in ways you can't imagine. Together, we could reshape not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. And in exchange, you help me control humanity. Keep them docile, productive. They live, but they never reach their potential. He extended his hand. It's a good offer, Daniel. The alternative is the complete extinction of your species. I stood, looking at his outstretched hand. Can I tell you something, Lord Kareth? Of course. You made one mistake in your story. You said humanity developed conscience and consciousness as if they were bugs in your programming, but they're not bugs. They're features. They're what make us human. Your point. My point is that you're asking me to choose between being human and being powerful, but thanks to my mother, I don't have to choose. I let my power surface, golden light filling the room. I can be both. Kareth's expression didn't change, but I felt the energy in the room spike. You're refusing my offer. I'm making you a counteroffer, I said. Leave Earth alone, stop the experiments, stop the culling, stop everything. In exchange, I won't come for the Dominion. He laughed then, a sound like breaking glass. You won't come for us, my dear boy. You have no idea what you're threatening. The Dominion spans 10,000 worlds. We have weapons that can unmake stars, soldiers that can tear through dimensions. You're one man with parlor tricks. Maybe, I admitted, but I'm also the proof that your greatest fear is real. Humans can resonate, and if I can do it, others can too. How long before there are dozens like me, hundreds, thousands? We would stop them. Like you stopped me, I let my power flare higher and felt the ship's systems respond, recognizing me as something beyond their parameters. Face it, Kareth, your empire is built on fear and control, but humans, we're built on hope and stubbornness. Which do you think wins in the long run? The moment stretched between us, taut as a wire. Then Kareth moved, faster than anything 8 feet tall should be able to. But I was ready. The golden energy met his attack, reality bending around us as 2 different types of power clashed. The dining room exploded outward, leaving us floating above the ocean. Kareth's true form was revealed, something between energy and matter, ancient and terrible. But I held my ground, or rather, my air, the resonance keeping me aloft. You think you're special, Kareth snarled, his cultured voice replaced by something primal. You think you're the first to challenge the Dominion. No, I said, dodging a blast of energy that turned seawater to steam, but I might be the last. We fought above the waves, 2 forces of nature clashing. He had experience, millennia of combat knowledge, but I had something else. I had the desperate creativity of humanity, the ability to think outside the box because we'd never known there was a box to begin with. When he threw temporal distortions at me, I surfed them like waves. When he tried to unmake my molecular structure, I convinced my atoms they were having too much fun to separate. And when he reached into my mind to break me psychologically, he found something unexpected. He found my memories of being nobody. of failure, of loneliness, of feeling worthless. And instead of breaking me, they made me stronger, because I'd already been broken. I'd already been at the bottom. There was nowhere left to fall. "You don't get it," I said, catching his energy blast and transforming it into butterflies made of light. "You've never been powerless, so you don't understand power. You've never been nobody, so you don't understand what it means to become somebody." "Philosophical nonsense," he spat, but I could see uncertainty in his ancient eyes. "Is it you created humanity to be slaves? But slavery only works if the slaves believe they have no choice. The moment they realize they do." I spread my arms, and golden light erupted from me in all directions. The chains break. The light hit him, and for a moment I saw him as he truly was. Not a conqueror, not a god, but a being terrified of losing control, terrified of becoming irrelevant, terrified of the very species he'd helped create. The moment passed, and we both fell toward the ocean. Exhausted, I caught us both with platforms of golden energy, and we stood there, two enemies too tired to keep fighting. "This isn't over," Kareth said, his form flickering between matter and energy. "The Dominion will come for you, all of them." "I know," I said, "but here's the thing about humans, Kareth, we're social creatures. You come for one of us, you get all of us." He laughed, bitter and tired. "You think your species will unite behind you? They can't even unite behind their own leaders." "Maybe not," I admitted, "but they'll unite against you. Humans are weird like that. We'll fight each other over anything, but the moment an outsider threatens us, we become family." A portal opened behind him. Dominion reinforcements, no doubt, but he raised a hand, stopping them. "3 days," he said suddenly. "What?" "You have 3 days. I'll return to the Dominion. Report that you're too dangerous to approach directly. It will take them 3 days to mobilize a full extinction fleet." His expression was unreadable. "What you do with those 3 days will determine the fate of your world." "Why?" I asked. "Why give me warning?" "For the first time since we'd met." Kareth looked genuinely uncertain. "Because in all my years, across all the species I've encountered, I've never met anyone who turned slavery into strength. Part of me wants to see what happens next." He stepped through the portal, then paused. "Your mother would be proud. Daniel Hayes. She always said humanity's greatest strength was its ability to find hope in hopelessness." The portal closed, leaving me alone above the ocean. 3 days to save the world. 3 days to unite humanity against an empire that had ruled for millennia. I flew back toward shore, my power carrying me over the waves. As I flew, I thought about Kareth's words, about humanity being created as slaves. It should have been devastating, learning that our entire existence was meant to serve others. But instead, it felt liberating, because if we were made to be slaves and became something more, what else could we become? My phone rang as I landed on the dock. Marcus, of course. "Please tell me you're alive," he said without preamble. "Alive, and we have 3 days to save the world," I replied. 3 days, that's not enough time to— "Marcus," I interrupted, "remember when we were kids and you said you wanted to change the world with your coding?" "Yeah." "How fast can you hack every communication system on Earth?" There was a pause. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. We need to tell humanity the truth, all of it. The Dominion, the experiments, what we really are. That'll cause a panic." "Or," I said, thinking of Kareth's fear, "it'll cause an awakening." I could practically hear Marcus grinning through the phone. "I'll need Lyra's help, and probably a lot of coffee." "You've got both. I'll be there in 10 minutes. As I hung up, I felt Arya's presence in my mind, a gentle touch through the resonance. "You're planning something impossible," her mental voice said. "Humanity's specialty," I replied. 3 days to turn 8 billion people from unwitting slaves into humanity's greatest hope. 3 days to prove that humans were more than the sum of their creation. 3 days to show the universe what happened when you backed humanity into a corner. The nobody from Earth was about to wake up everybody, and the Dominion would never see it coming. The countdown timer on Marcus's screen read 48 hours, 16 minutes. We'd already burned through almost a day, and the world was in chaos. Global panic index is at 89%, Lyra reported through the speakers. Riots in major cities, religious groups claiming end times, and 3 governments have already declared martial law. But, Marcus added, fingers never stopping their dance across multiple keyboards, we also have something else. Look at this. He pulled up a compilation of videos from around the world. A teenager in Mumbai making water flow upward with her hands. An elderly man in Berlin walking through a wall. A mother in Sao Paulo shielding her children with a barrier of pure light. They're awakening, Arya said, wonder in her voice. The truth is triggering resonance events globally. How many? I asked. Conservative estimate about 300,000 and climbing, Lyra responded. But most can barely light a candle with their power. They need guidance. I stared at the screens showing humanity's chaotic awakening. We'd told them the truth through every channel Marcus could hack, which turned out to be all of them. Every screen on Earth had displayed the same message for 60 seconds, the true history of humanity, the Dominion threat, and most importantly, the potential that lived inside every human being. We need to teach them, I said, but we can't reach everyone in person. No, Arya agreed, but you can reach them another way. She moved closer, her blue energy intertwining with my golden light. The resonance connects all living things, if we amplify it. We could broadcast directly into their consciousness, I finished. Not mind control, but knowledge sharing. That's theoretically possible, Lyra interjected, but the energy required would be enormous. You'd need a massive amplifier. Marcus suddenly grinned. Or we could use the one the Dominion already built. We all turned to look at him. Think about it, he continued, pulling up satellite images. Those memory wipe fields they use, they're essentially broadcasting directly into human minds. If we could hijack one, the nearest Dominion transmission node is in Earth's orbit, Lyra said. It's heavily defended. Then we'll have to be creative, I said, feeling a plan forming. How long would we need control of it? To broadcast a complete resonance training program to 8 billion people, approximately 12 minutes. Lyra calculated. 12 minutes to save the world, Marcus said. No pressure. Arya stood abruptly, her expression distant. Something's wrong. The Dominion fleet. They're early. Before anyone could respond, every screen in our hideout switched to news feeds. Ships were appearing in Earth's sky. Not the full extinction fleet, but enough to cause worldwide panic. My phone buzzed with an encrypted message. Clever boy, it read. But did you think I'd give you 3 full days? This is your fault. Daniel, every death from here on is because you refused my offer. K. Rage flooded through me, and the golden energy responded, crackling around me like lightning. He lied, I snarled. No, Arya said softly. He's testing you. These aren't extinction ships. They're suppression forces. He wants to see if humanity will unite or crumble. As if to prove her point, the ships began deploying smaller craft, each one heading for a major population center, but they weren't attacking. They were waiting. It's psychological warfare, Marcus realized. Make humanity attack first, then claim self-defense when they retaliate. Then we don't give them that excuse. I decided. Marcus, how fast can you get us to that orbital node? Us? He shook his head. I'm a hacker, not an astronaut. No, but you're my friend, and I need you. I turned to Arya. All of you. She smiled, and for a moment I forgot about the invasion, forgot about the danger. There was something in her alien eyes that looked very human. "Always so dramatic," she said, but her hand found mine and I felt our energies sink. "Fine, let's steal a Dominion station." The plan was insane, which meant it was perfectly human. Marcus would hack one of the landed Dominion craft. Arya and I would provide cover. Lyra would navigate. Simple. Except nothing was ever simple. The nearest Dominion craft had landed in Central Park, turning New York's green heart into an occupied zone. Thousands of people surrounded it, some fleeing, others drawn by curiosity or emerging resonance abilities. The Dominion enforcers stood guard but weren't engaging, waiting. "There," Marcus pointed to a maintenance hatch on the craft's underside. "If I can get to that, Lyra can interface directly." "Leave the distraction to us," I said. Arya and I stepped out of the crowd, our energies flaring. Every enforcer immediately focused on us, weapons charging. "Daniel Hayes," one announced, "you will surrender for processing." "Counteroffer," I called back, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You leave our world, and we don't show you what 8 billion awakened humans can do. Humanity is chaotic, undisciplined. You cannot stand against order. Want to bet?" I reached out with my resonance, not to the enforcers, but to the humans around us. I could feel their fear, their confusion, but underneath it all, their potential, like sparks waiting to become flames. "Feel it." I broadcasted through the resonance. "Feel the power inside you. It's not alien, it's not foreign, it's human, it's yours." The response was immediate. Hundreds of people suddenly glowed with emerging resonance. Not strong, not controlled, but there, the enforcers took a step back. "Together," I continued, raising my hand. "On 3, 1. The crowd raised their hands, light beginning to gather. 2. Arya added her power to mine, creating a feedback loop that amplified through every awakening human present. 3. We didn't attack. Instead, we created. Light erupted from the crowd, not as a weapon, but as art. A massive projection of Earth appeared above Central Park, beautiful and defiant. It was chaotic, yes, but it was human chaos, creative chaos. The enforcers were so transfixed that they didn't notice Marcus and Lyra until it was too late. The maintenance hatch closed behind them, and moments later, the craft's engines powered up. "Now!" Arya shouted. We ran for the craft as it lifted off, Arya and I using our resonance to leap impossibly high. We landed on the hull just as it cleared the tree line, Marcus already having the airlock open for us. "Next stop, orbit," he called out, far too cheerfully for someone who'd just committed grand theft spaceship. The journey up was rougher than expected. The Dominion had obviously noticed their missing craft, and were trying to override Lyra's control remotely. Marcus and Lyra fought a digital battle while Arya and I deflected energy blasts from pursuing ships. "How much longer?" I shouted over the sound of shields failing. 3 minutes to optimal broadcast position, Lyra responded. 3 minutes. We just had to survive 3 more minutes. That's when Kyrith's ship appeared directly in our path. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" His voice echoed through the craft. "Nothing's ever easy," I replied, channeling power through the ship's communication system. "That's what makes it fun." His ship fired, not energy weapons, but something else. Gravity itself twisted, trying to tear our craft apart. I felt Arya gasp beside me as she struggled to maintain our shields. "I can't hold it," she said through gritted teeth. "Then don't," I said, making a desperate decision. "Drop the shields." "Are you insane?" "Trust me." She dropped the shields, and Kyrith's gravitational attack hit us full force. But instead of fighting it, I embraced it, used it. I let it accelerate us, slingshotting us around Kyrith's ship and directly toward the orbital node. Impossible. Kyrith's voice was tinged with something I'd never heard from him before, respect. We slammed into the node's docking bay with enough force to crumple half our craft. But we were alive. And more importantly, we were connected. "Lyra, now," I shouted. "Initiating broadcast," she confirmed, "but I need more power. The node's refusing my commands." Without thinking, I placed my hands on the console and pushed everything I had into it. Golden energy flooded the station's systems, overriding Dominion protocols through sheer force of will. But it wasn't enough. I was strong, but not that strong, not alone. That's when Arya kissed me. Not the desperate, knowledge-transferring kiss from that first night. This was different. This was connection, synchronization, love. Our energies didn't just combine, they multiplied exponentially. Blue and gold became something new, something that transcended both. Through the kiss, I felt everything. Arya's memories of her world, conquered by the Dominion generations ago. Her search for someone who could break their chains. Her fear that she was sending me to my death. And underneath it all, her absolute faith in humanity's potential. The combined energy exploded through the node, hijacking every Dominion transmission array around Earth. But we didn't broadcast fear or demands. We broadcast knowledge, hope, and most importantly, the truth of what humans could become. Every human on Earth felt it simultaneously. The awakening wasn't violent or forced. It was like remembering something you'd always known but had forgotten. How to touch the resonance. How to shape reality through will and imagination. How to be more than human while being perfectly human. The kiss broke, and Arya and I stood there, breathing hard, still connected by threads of energy. "That was," I started. "The most reckless thing anyone has ever done," she suggested, but she was smiling. I was going to say amazing, but that works too. Marcus's voice cut through our moment. Guys, we've got company." Through the node's viewports, we could see them. Not just Kareth's ship, but dozens of Dominion vessels, all converging on our position. 10 billion humans just awakened to their resonance potential, Lyra announced. "Initial manifestations are chaotic but stabilizing." "Can they fight?" I asked. "Not yet. They need time to." The node shook as Kareth's ship locked onto us with tractor beams. "Time we don't have," Marcus finished. But as we were pulled toward Kareth's ship, something unexpected happened. Space around Earth began to shimmer, not with Dominion technology, but with human resonance. 10 billion newly awakened minds, all reaching out instinctively, all protecting their home. "By the void," I heard Kareth breathe over the comm. "They're all resonating together." It wasn't coordinated, it wasn't elegant, but 10 billion humans, even newly awakened ones, generated a resonance field that made space itself ring like a bell. Dominion ships found their systems glitching, their weapons misfiring, their shields flickering. "This is impossible," Kareth said, and for the first time he sounded genuinely shaken. "No species has ever achieved planetary resonance without centuries of training." "Yeah, well," I said, standing tall despite our capture, "humans have always been overachievers." We were pulled into Kareth's ship, but something was different this time. I could feel it in the resonance. The fear was gone, replaced by determination, not just from me, but from Earth itself. 10 billion voices speaking as one through the quantum foam. "We are not slaves, we are not subjects, we are human, and we are free." Kareth stood in his ship's bridge, watching the displays with an expression I'd never seen on his ancient face. Wonder. "Do you understand what you've done?" he asked as we were brought before him. "Yeah," I said, "I've given humanity a fighting chance." "No," he shook his head. "You've changed the entire paradigm of galactic civilization, a species that can achieve spontaneous planetary resonance. The implications are staggering." "So what now?" Arya asked. "You kill us and hope humanity forgets." Kareth laughed. a sound like distant thunder. Kill you, my dear. You've just made yourselves the most valuable beings in the galaxy. The Dominion will want to study this, to understand how it happened. And if we refuse, I asked, then we have a war that will reshape the cosmos, he said simply, but I don't think it will come to that. Why not? He gestured to his displays, showing Earth surrounded by a golden aurora of human resonance. Because for the first time in 3,000 years, I've seen something genuinely new, something that challenges everything the Dominion believes about order and control. He turned to me, those ancient eyes holding a mixture of respect and calculation. You asked me before why I gave you 3 days. The truth is, part of me wanted to see if the species we created could surpass their creators, and you have in ways I never imagined. So you'll leave Earth alone? Oh no, he said, and my heart sank. Then he smiled, and it was almost genuine. Earth is far too interesting to leave alone, but perhaps it's time for a different approach, not conquest, but partnership. The Dominion doesn't do partnerships, Arya said suspiciously. The old Dominion didn't, Kareth corrected, but then the old Dominion never faced a species that could rewrite reality through collective will. He walked to his command console, and I tensed, ready to fight, but he simply opened a channel to the Dominion fleet. All ships, this is Lord Kareth. Stand down. Earth is under my protection pending a full review by the Council of Five. Sir, one of his subordinates responded, the humans are manifesting unpredictable resonance patterns. They could be dangerous. Yes, Kareth agreed, looking directly at me. They could be. That's what makes them magnificent. The ships began to pull back, though I could feel their reluctance through the resonance. This isn't over, I said. No, Kareth agreed. This is just the beginning. Humanity has announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Others will come, some seeking alliance, others seeking to destroy what they fear. Then we'll be ready, I said. Will you? He gestured to Earth. 10 billion newly awakened resonants with no training, no discipline. The power could tear your world apart from within. Or it could unite us like never before, Arya countered. Perhaps, Kareth conceded. I suppose we'll find out. He turned back to me. I'll return in 1 Earth year, if humanity has mastered its power without destroying itself. The Dominion will formally recognize Earth as a sovereign power. And if we haven't, his smile was sharp, then we'll have our answer about whether humanity deserves to exist. A portal opened beside us, leading back to Earth. Go, Kareth said. Teach them, unite them. Prove that our greatest failure was actually our greatest success. As we stepped toward the portal, I paused. Why are you really doing this? For a moment, his ancient facade cracked, and I saw something almost human in his expression. Because in 3,000 years of life, you're the first being to make me curious about tomorrow. We stepped through the portal, arriving back in Central Park. The crowd was still there, still glowing with resonance, but now there was purpose to it. People were helping each other, teaching those just awakening, creating something beautiful out of chaos. We did it, Marcus said, disbelief in his voice. We actually did it. No, I corrected. Looking at the sea of awakened humanity, we just started it. Arya's hand found mine, our energies intertwining naturally now. A year to unite and train 10 billion resonants. Think we can do it. I thought about everything that had happened. A week ago, I was nobody, just another face in the crowd. Now I was standing at the center of humanity's greatest evolution. Yeah, I said, squeezing her hand. I think we can. Above us, the Dominion ships were leaving, but I knew they'd be watching. The real challenge wasn't fighting them. It was proving that humanity could handle the power we'd awakened. But as I watched humans helping humans, saw the beauty in our chaotic awakening, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope, The nobody from Earth had helped everybody become somebody. Now came the hard part. 1 year later, I stood in what used to be the United Nations building, now transformed into the Global Resonance Council headquarters. Through the massive windows, New York City sparkled with a new kind of light, buildings wrapped in protective energy fields, traffic flowing in 3 dimensions as people learned to fly, parks where children played with reality itself like it was finger paint. The Mumbai incident has been contained, Arya reported, materializing beside me in a shimmer of blue light. Teleportation was second nature to her now, and she'd been teaching others. Just another resonance flare, no casualties. That's the 3rd one this week, I said, concerned. Growing pains, she replied, her hand finding mine. 10 billion people learning to reshape reality. I'm amazed we haven't torn the planet apart. Give us time, Marcus said, entering with his usual lack of ceremony. He'd changed too, streams of data constantly flowing around him like digital satellites. Lyra's projections show we're actually ahead of schedule. Only 42% of the population has achieved stable resonance, but that's still 4 billion people. Kareth returns tomorrow, I reminded them. Yeah, about that. Marcus pulled up a holographic display. We've been monitoring Dominion communications. There's something you should see. The display showed intercepted messages translated from Dominion script. My blood chilled as I read them. The Council of 5 is split, I summarized. 3 want to honor Kareth's agreement. 2 want to destroy Earth regardless. It gets worse. Lyra's voice came from speakers throughout the room. In the past year, she'd integrated herself into Earth's entire digital infrastructure. The 2 dissenting voices are mobilizing their own fleets. Even if Kareth keeps his word, we may face civil war within the Dominion. How long do we have? Arya asked. Unknown, but Kareth's arrival tomorrow will likely trigger whatever they're planning. I walked to the window, watching humanity's chaotic but beautiful evolution. We'd come so far, but were we ready for another war? Daniel, Arya said softly, there's something else. I turned to her, noting the concern in her impossible eyes. The resonance network has been picking up anomalies, memories that shouldn't exist, hidden knowledge surfacing in people's minds. What kind of knowledge? She hesitated. About the first extinction attempt, the one Kareth mentioned, 200,000 years ago. Before I could respond, every screen in the building lit up with an emergency alert, but it wasn't from Earth's defense systems. It was from space. A ship was approaching, but not Dominion. It was something older, something that made my resonance recoil instinctively. What is that? Marcus breathed. The architects, Lyra said, and for the first time since I'd known her, the AI sounded afraid. The ones who created the Dominion. The ship didn't request permission to land. It simply appeared in Central Park, the same spot where everything had begun a year ago. By the time Arya and I arrived, a crowd had gathered, their resonance creating a protective barrier around the vessel. The ship was wrong in every way. It didn't just bend light, it bent perception itself. Looking at it was like trying to remember a dream while still dreaming it. A figure emerged, and the crowd stepped back. It was humanoid in the loosest sense, made of something between energy and thought. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in our minds. The experiment concludes. What experiment? I demanded, stepping forward. The being's attention turned to me, and I felt the weight of eons in its gaze. Humanity, the Dominion, all of it, an experiment in guided evolution versus natural development. You're saying we're all just lab rats to you? The golden energy flared around me. No, the being said. You are the answer to a question we posed millennia ago. Can a species transcend its origins through will alone? The Dominion was given power and knowledge. Humanity was given potential and ignorance. We wanted to see which would prove stronger. And, Arya asked, her blue energy intertwining with mine. Observe? Reality shifted, and suddenly we were seeing Earth from space, but not present Earth. This was Earth throughout time, compressed into a single moment. We saw the Dominion's first attempt to destroy humanity, saw primitive humans somehow surviving through sheer stubborn will. We saw civilizations rise and fall, each time getting closer to awakening. We saw my mother, not just working on Project Prometheus, but guided by visions she didn't understand, visions of this moment. Every prophet, every visionary, every human who dreamed of something more. The being explained. They were all sensing this moment, the moment humanity would face its creators and choose its fate. Choose, I asked. The Dominion will arrive soon, both factions, those who would preserve you and those who would destroy you. But the choice isn't theirs. It's yours. The being gestured to the gathered humans. What will humanity choose? Vengeance for the manipulation war against those who would control you, or something else? Why do you care? I challenged. Because we are dying, the being admitted. And for the first time I heard emotion in its voice. Sadness. Our species ascended too far, became too disconnected from physical reality. We will fade into nothing within a generation. But before we go, we wanted to see if we had created something that could surpass us. The Dominion hasn't surpassed you, Marcus pointed out. No, they became what we were, controlling, stagnant, afraid of change. The being turned to me, but humanity. You took powerlessness and made it power. You took ignorance and made it imagination. You took mortality and made it meaning. The sky suddenly filled with ships, hundreds of them. The Dominion had arrived, and they hadn't come alone. I could see the divisions, ships facing each other as much as they faced Earth. Kareth's voice echoed across the city. People of Earth, the year has passed. The Council of Five has come to judge whether humanity deserves sovereignty. Half of them have already decided we don't, I muttered. Then show them they're wrong, the architect said. Show them what humanity truly is. I looked at Arya, at Marcus, at the thousands of awakened humans standing ready to fight. But fighting wasn't what made us human. It was something else. Connect with me, I said to the crowd, all of you, through the resonance. Daniel, what are you doing? Arya asked. What humans do best, I replied, the impossible. I reached out through the resonance, not just to the crowd, but to every awakened human on Earth. 4 billion minds, all different, all chaotic, all beautiful. And I didn't try to control them or organize them. I simply shared. I shared my memories of being nobody, my failures, my loneliness, my insignificance. And then I shared how that had become my strength, how being nobody had let me become anybody. The response was overwhelming. 4 billion humans sharing their own stories, their struggles, their dreams, their moments of transcendence, not as weapons, but as truth. The energy rose from Earth like a tide, not golden or blue or any single color, but every color at once. It reached the Dominion ships, passed through their shields like they weren't there, and touched every being aboard. And then something unprecedented happened. I felt Dominion minds responding. Not the leaders, but the soldiers, the workers, the forgotten ones. They recognized something in humanity's story. The struggle against control, the desire for freedom, the dream of being more. Impossible, Kareth breathed, his ship's communications open for all to hear. They're resonating with humans. Not impossible, I said, my voice carried by the resonance to every ship, every mind. Natural. This is what happens when people see they're not alone, when they realize that everyone, everywhere, is fighting the same fight. One of the dissenting council members, Lord Vex, appeared as a massive projection above the city. Enough of this. Humanity is a contagion. They must be destroyed before they corrupt the entire galaxy. Corrupt, I laughed. And 4 billion humans laughed with me. We're not corrupting anything. We're reminding you what you've forgotten. That power isn't about control. It's about connection. Pretty words from a primitive species, Vex snarled. But words won't stop our weapons. No, I agreed. But this might... I reached out to the architect, and it understood immediately. It added its ancient power to humanity's resonance, creating a bridge between what was and what could be. And then I did something that shouldn't have been possible. I didn't attack Vex or his fleet. Instead, I showed them. I gave them the one thing the Dominion had tried to suppress for millennia. Choice. Every being in those ships suddenly felt it. The chains of conditioning breaking, the ability to choose their own path, their own purpose. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Ships began to defect, not to humanity, but to themselves. Dominion soldiers who had never questioned orders suddenly asked, why? Enforcers who had only known obedience discovered rebellion. What have you done? Kareth asked, but there was wonder in his voice, not anger. I've given them what you gave me a year ago, I replied, a chance to choose. Vex's projection flickered with rage. You think you've won, you've only hastened your destruction. If the Dominion falls, chaos will consume the galaxy. Maybe, I admitted, or maybe something better will grow from the chaos. That's what humans believe, that tomorrow can be better than today, even if we don't know how. Naive child, Vex spat. I'll destroy your world myself if I must. His ship powered weapons that could crack continents. But before he could fire, something unexpected happened. Kareth's ship moved between Vex and Earth. No, Kareth said simply. You dare defy the Council. I dare evolve, Kareth replied, something I should have done 3,000 years ago. The standoff stretched taut, 2 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy facing each other over the fate of a single world. And then Arya kissed me again. But this time, it wasn't just us. The kiss rippled through the resonance, and suddenly every human was sharing their love. Not romantic love, but human love. Love for children, for friends, for strangers who needed help. Love for art and music and really good coffee. Love for sunsets and stupid jokes and the way rain smells on hot concrete. It was overwhelming and beautiful and utterly, chaotically human. The resonance exploded outward, not as an attack, but as an invitation. Every being it touched felt what it was like to be human, to be afraid and brave at the same time, to be insignificant and vital simultaneously, to know you're going to die and choose to live anyway. Vex's weapon powered down. His voice was different, confused. I remember, before the conditioning, before the Council, I remember choosing. We all do, Kareth said softly. We just forgot, but humanity remembered for us. The architect moved forward, its form becoming more solid, more real. The experiment is complete, it announced. Not as we intended, but as it needed to be. Humanity has proven that evolution isn't about power or control. It's about connection and choice. So what happens now? I asked. Now, the architect said, and I swear it was smiling. We fade, and you rise, not humans alone, not the Dominion alone, but something new, something that chooses to be better. It began to dissolve, its essence spreading through the resonance like seeds on the wind. Wait, I called out, what about the truth? What really happened 200,000 years ago? The architect's voice was fading, but I heard its final words clearly. Your mother knew. Check her hidden files. File name Genesis Reversal. Then it was gone, leaving only a lingering sense of possibility in the air. The Dominion ships hung in Earth's sky, but the feeling of threat was gone. One by one, they began requesting permission to land. not as conquerors, but as visitors. "This is unprecedented," Kareth said, his projection appearing before us. "The Dominion as we knew it is finished." "Good," I said. "It was time for something new anyway. You realize what you've done, billions of beings across thousands of worlds, all suddenly free to choose. The chaos will be human," Arya finished. "The chaos will be human, messy and beautiful and full of potential." Kareth laughed, the sound no longer like breaking glass, but almost warm. "I spent 3,000 years trying to create order. You've undone it in one." "Not undone," I corrected. "Transformed. Order that's chosen is stronger than order that's imposed." "Perhaps," he conceded. "I suppose we'll find out." His projection turned to leave, then paused. "Your mother would be proud. Daniel Hayes. She saw this moment coming, prepared for it." "How do you know that?" "Because she told me, the day before she died. She said humanity's greatest strength wasn't its power, but its ability to make others remember what they'd forgotten." He smiled, genuinely this time. "I thought she was delusional. I was wrong." As his projection faded, Marcus finally spoke up. "So, we won." "No," I said, looking at the thousands of ships now landing peacefully around the world. "We just started something bigger." "Typical," he muttered. "Save the world, end up with more work." Lyra's voice came through everyone's devices simultaneously. "I've located Dr. Hayes's hidden files. Daniel, you need to see this." The files appeared on my phone, and as I read them, everything finally made sense. The first extinction attempt hadn't failed because humanity fought back. It had failed because one Dominion scientist had fallen in love with a human. They'd had a child, the first human-Dominion hybrid. That child's descendants had spread throughout humanity, carrying dormant resonance in their genes. "We were never pure human," I said wonderingly. "We were always bridges between worlds." "All of us?" Arya asked. "All of us," I confirmed. "Every human has trace amounts of Dominion DNA. That's why we can resonate. We're not separate species. We're family." The revelation spread through the resonance network, reaching human and Dominion alike. The response was chaos, but the good kind. The kind that happens when a family reunion gets too large and no one knows who's related to whom, but everyone's happy anyway. 1 year, Arya said, leaning against me as we watched humans and former Dominion beings awkwardly attempting to communicate. 1 year ago, you were nobody. Now I'm somebody. I agreed. But you know what, I was wrong before. Being nobody wasn't what made me special. No. What made me special was that even when I was nobody, I had people who saw me as somebody. I looked at Marcus, at Lyra's camera drone, at the crowd of humans who'd stood with us. That's humanity's real power. We see potential in each other, even when we can't see it in ourselves. "That's beautiful," Marcus said, "also sappy, but mostly beautiful." The sun was setting over New York, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Ships from 1,000 worlds reflected the light, creating new constellations in the darkening sky. "So what's next?" Arya asked. I thought about it. The Dominion was transforming. Humanity was evolving. The galaxy would never be the same, and somewhere in hidden files and recovered memories was the truth about our origins, waiting to be fully understood. "Now," I said, pulling Arya closer as the first stars appeared. "We build bridges between humans and Dominion, between Earth and the galaxy, between what was and what could be." "That's a lot of bridges," Marcus pointed out. "Good thing we've got 10 billion awakened humans to help build them," I replied. As night fell over a changed world, I felt my mother's presence in the resonance, not a ghost, but an echo, a memory preserved in the quantum foam. She was smiling, proud, at peace. The nobody from Earth had become somebody. But more importantly, He'd helped everyone else become somebody too. The war was over before it began. The real work, the human work of building something better from the chaos, was just beginning. And for the first time in my life, I couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. Above us, the stars shone with new possibilities, and Earth's golden resonance reached out to meet them, a bridge of light between worlds. Humanity had awakened. The universe would never be the same. And somewhere in the gentle chaos of 10 billion souls learning to reshape reality with love instead of fear, the future was being born. The kiss that had unlocked the power within had become a bridge between hearts, between worlds, between what we were and what we could become. The random guy from Earth had helped write a new chapter in the cosmos, and this was only the beginning.